Arsenal fans, what an unbelievable Saturday. We went into this season feeling that Liverpool and Man City were our rivals for the title. Well, Chelsea fans might have something to say about that, and we can touch on them at the end of this video. But both of them have lost massive, massive games. We know Forest can be difficult. We know that they might be somewhat a kryptonite for Liverpool. They went and won at Anfield last season. But to lose 3-0, we have to talk about what's going wrong with them and whether they're even still in this title race. Man City, on the other hand, went to a Newcastle side who had been struggling this season and have lost. Having just equalised, they go and concede a second goal to a Newcastle side where, I've got to say, it was a great game of football, bar the fact that I clearly had a favoured team in that game. I was watching it thinking, this is actually just great entertainment for the neutral, and the Premier League isn't always described these days as particularly entertaining in terms of football that can be played. I thought both teams, gave as good as they had from the attacking perspective, but City showed that they're still somewhat, that they can be got at defensively, and that's why when everyone was praising them so much in the win against Liverpool, I was saying, hold on, did everyone miss the chances Liverpool had? Did everyone miss the moments of fragility that Man City showed in that game? Which is why I did that video a week and a half ago, nearly 2 weeks ago, quite boldly stating that I was more confident than ever of the title because I didn't see the Man City that everybody else saw against Liverpool. And look, there's still many, many, many months of football to play. That's a take that could still age badly. But a week on, it's aged quite well. From the Arsenal perspective, we'll find out tomorrow if I'm right to trust this team that much. Obviously, we've got injuries, and there'll be a reaction here on Goonerverse News tomorrow after that game. I'm at the North London derby, so it will come out a little bit later. But let's talk about these games in a bit more detail. Fascinating results. I think we've got to touch on Newcastle and Man City first. Newcastle went 1-0 up in the 64th minute, only for Diaz to equalise in the 68th, and then Barnes to put Newcastle back 2-1 up in the 70th minute. 6 minutes and 3 goals. City has 17 shots on Newcastle's goal to Newcastle's 7 with 67% of the ball, but that doesn't really tell the full picture. It kind of makes it out that City dominated. Maybe from the 70th minute when they were looking for the goal. But I thought Newcastle, they were swinging punches. This was a boxing match. They were definitely swinging. They were definitely trying to get into the game. They were just trying to play in a different way, a little bit more direct, as we know they can be, a little bit more aggressive. And I think they were valued for 2 goals. Now, City could easily have been, they could have had a couple goals by half-time themselves, with Haaland forcing a point-blank save from Nick Pope. Foden should have scored, but Voltemade had a couple big chances too. And I'm sat there at 0-0 in the 63rd minute going, how have we not had a goal yet? But obviously Harvey Barnes then does come up with the goal and then a second to win it. I was delighted. I'm here getting ready to head to a friend's 60th, and I was sat there thinking, my word, what an opportunity this brings up for Arsenal, because the Premier League table now reads as follows. Arsenal are top of the league with Chelsea, City and Liverpool all behind us having played. We're on 26 points, 3 points ahead of Chelsea. So a win in the North London derby puts us 6 points back ahead of Chelsea. We're 3 ahead of them now. I can't remember if I just said that. We are 4 points ahead of City, and a win would put us 7 ahead of them going into the end of November. Of course, we face Chelsea next week, so a slip up there, and suddenly that game at the Bridge becomes really, really interesting between first and second place. Well, actually, either way, it's going to be first travelling to second, so that's going to be fascinating in a week's time. But Liverpool, this is unbelievable. Liverpool dropped all the way down to 11th on 18 points. If we win, we'll be 11 points ahead of them, but we are currently already, already 8 points ahead of them. I said on Loose Cannons, and we'll go back to City Newcastle in a sec. I said on Loose Cannons that for me, Liverpool were out the race, because I don't think you can lose to title challenging rivals Man City and lose 5 games, and now it's 6. They've won 6 and lost 6. I don't think you can have that kind of form and win the title. I certainly don't think you can be 11th on the 22nd of November and win the Premier League title. So I could be wrong. I could have egg on my face. I think Liverpool will have too much brilliance to not do something this season. They might go far in the FA Cup. They might really surprise people in the Champions League, because that's where they have real heritage and history. I just think you can rule them out for the Premier League title. I'm declaring them out. I declared them out a couple of days ago, and I'm sticking to it, especially after a 3-0 home defeat to Forest. The question is, should they stick with Arne Slot? But again, I'm jumping all over the place, so apologies. What I was doing is looking at the Premier League table. We're 8 ahead of Liverpool. We are 4 ahead of City. That could be 11 ahead of Liverpool, and that could be 7 ahead of City and 6 ahead of Chelsea, and we go to Stamford Bridge next week. So that's how the Premier League table looks. Just on City and that sort of defeat to Newcastle, again, a little vulnerable on the set plays there, a little, open at times. Newcastle found space to play balls in behind. The wingers were having some joy. I just felt that City showed that they don't have that kind of stranglehold on games that they did a few years ago. So when people were saying, oh no, that Sunderland draw's bad, we've let City back in it, my initial reaction was, well, maybe, sure, but City will drop more points. I think a 7-point gap at this stage of the season is a lot healthier than it was in 22-23 or 23-24, because I don't believe that City can go on that kind of run that they've done before that's hunted us down. I think if Arsenal can keep chipping away, picking up 3 points, the odd 1 point every 6, 7, 8 games, I think Arsenal will be okay, because I really think City will lose games. They've lost at Newcastle and now they've lost at Villa. Liverpool, on the other hand, I know we started touching them briefly. I mean, what a horrible result. Murillo scores in the 33rd minute, Savona in the 46th, and Gibbs White in the 78th. Yeah, they had 20 shots on Forest's goal, but Forest had 13 at Anfield themselves, with 7 of them on target to Liverpool's 3. Liverpool had 75% of the ball. They obviously had to play with Szoboszlai at right back because, what's his name? Bradley was out injured. I'm not sure what's going on with Frimpong as well. Jones came into midfield, so I think Wirtz was on the no, Wirtz is out. Right, Wirtz is an injury, my bad. So they actually ended up going with an 11 with Isak up front with Gakpo and Salah. I thought actually feels like it feels like a good balanced Liverpool midfield, but it proved anything but. When you're losing 3-0 at home, yes, they had some chances and they played some good football at times from what I caught in the highlights. Ultimately, you can't be that exposed in any Premier League game, especially a side like Forest, when they got the likes of Gibbs White, when they got Ndoye, who can just make things happen. Anderson's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League right now in terms of form, playing brilliantly for England. And, you give space and these teams will hurt you. The question becomes, what do they do about Arne Slot now? And I'm not going to lie, normally I'd be one to say, don't go too soon on these things. Teams can go through bad form. Teams can have just moments where they're just not at their best. They go through a run of defeats like City last season, but they kind of climb back up. But I have to say, I don't know if this is something a little bit more lasting for Arne Slot. This feels not just like a blip, but like actually he is incapable of getting a better tune out of Liverpool and getting a better balance. He has made it very clear, talking to Jamie Carragher and others in the press, that he believes in really full throttle, high intensity attacking football. But teams are hurting Liverpool. So even in games where they're creating chances and they look busy, they're having to score 3-4 goals just to win or draw a game, because other teams are scoring goals as well. Other teams are coming away from Anfield and wherever they're playing. More recent, Anfield a little bit more recent. I know Real Madrid and Villa lost there, but of course Man United won. Bournemouth scored 2 goals there. Atletico scored 2 goals there. People are feeling like they can go and score goals at Anfield. That's why I was so frustrated. We played Mourinho in the 10 against Liverpool rather than have more of a go, because they were there to be got at. So it's fascinating, and obviously all this puts pressure on Arsenal. Now, you could argue, and I talked to Sharoy about this, go check out the Goonerverse podcast, you could argue that this lowers the pressure going to tomorrow's North London derby. Now, the pressure will always be there because it's Tottenham, they're coming to the Emirates, there'll always be immense pressure to deliver. But what's really interesting about it is, you could argue that Arsenal should be able to just drop their shoulders a little bit and go, okay, play with some freedom, play with some endeavour, and go for it. Just have a real go at this Tottenham side, because they'll be organised, they'll be very defensive. Not very defensive, I think they'll throw punches back, but I think they'll be very organised and difficult to break down. And Arsenal need to have answers for that. And I don't think Arsenal can be, I don't think they can tiptoe their way to finding these solutions. I think we have to be on Tottenham and be really aggressive. The fact that City and Liverpool have lost might give Arsenal the impetus to go do that, take their hand off the handbrake, and just really, really go for it. Release the handbrake is the term I'm looking for. Whether they do that, I don't know, because there might be a pressure built in a different way. This could be the game in which you stick it to your rivals. You take advantage of the fact that they both lost, and you go and get yourself a massive win. That's the other way that Arsenal and the Arsenal players might feel about it. There might be a pressure in a different way, but I really hope not. I hope they see this as an opportunity. I hope they relax a little bit. Obviously, you have to be intense. Obviously, you have to have concentration, all those things. It goes without saying. It's a North London derby. You show up, you give 100%. But I hope they don't overthink that extra pass. I hope they don't worry about playing that creative one that they might get wrong. Go and express yourselves, because that's how you're going to beat Tottenham. That's how you're going to break them down. And that's how you're going to take advantage of City and Liverpool dropping points. It would be a real shame if after the results they've had, we go and draw this game. And yeah, we'll have gained a point on both, but you're sat there thinking, that's a little bit underwhelming with the opportunity we had in front of us. So go for it, Arsenal. But I'm really interested to see whether there's a pressure that's now built in a different way, because these teams have gone and lost games that I didn't expect them to lose, and I don't know if you did either. Those are my thoughts, everyone. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I did not think City, like I said in the video last week, I didn't see this City return that everyone was talking about. I saw problems there. I talked about it in a video. I think they've reared their head at St James's Park. I declared Liverpool... Sorry, I'm not trying to do a bit of an I told you so video. I'm not. I get loads and loads of stuff wrong. But I just had this feeling that people were going a bit too far about City. And with Liverpool, yeah, you can never write teams off, especially the champions. But look at what you're seeing. They don't look quite right. Chelsea have just gone and won at Burnley 2-0. That was an impressive win. Difficult place to go. They went and got that win, scoring some good goals without some of their best players on the pitch, like Caicedo, like Palmer, Esteval. And they went and made it fairly comfortable. Burnley caused the odd problem here and there, but ultimately it's a 2-0 win. And now that game at the Bridge next week looks really, really big for both sides. Let's see. We'll obviously react to it as and when, when that game comes around. But first and foremost, let's beat Spurs. And then we've got Bayern. Massive, massive North London derby. I'll react to it here on Goonerverse News, and I'll be live on the Goonerverse tomorrow after, probably quite late in the night once I get back from the game. Big thanks. Hit the like button if you enjoy this video so more people can see it. Subscribe to Goonerverse News so you get all my updates on what our rivals are doing, but more importantly, on Arsenal news. And of course, hype the video, all that if you can. Leave a comment. Love to know all your thoughts after what has been a fascinating Saturday in the Premier League. Catch you all in a bit.